Good evening, everyone. Welcome to At America TV. My name is Aninda, one of the guests here in At America. It's really nice to see you all. We hope you all doing well and staying safe at home. For those of you just joined us for the first time, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. We have moved temporarily to a digital platform so you can enjoy our events from the comfort of your own home. In this event, we'll be having Fireside Chat with Jeff Hoffman, developing the best Scaleup strategy. But before we begin, we have an exciting news for you. Ad America is holding a special activity with giveaways. If you are wondering how to get the giveaways, you can check on our Instagram to find out more. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag Ad America's Instagram account while you are enjoying our event. Without further ado, please welcome our today's moderator, Hairani Putri Pratiwi, faculty member of BINUS Business School and Business Entrepreneurship Center. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So today I would like such an honor that I could be a moderator for today our session that are talking about the entrepreneur session. So now we have inspiring and also great leader and also the great speaker around the world, Jeff Hoffman. And before we say hello to Jeff Hoffman, I would like to read her background. So I believe that everybody focus with entrepreneurship and notice who is he. So I would like to, of course, introduce, even if I read, it's quite long, but I'm surprised that Jeff Hoffman have a great time to spend our discussion tonight. So Jeff Hoffman is an award-winning global entrepreneur, CEO, worldwide motivational speaker, and also best-selling author. Maybe some of you already noticed what is the title of his book. And Hollywood film producer, a producer of Grammy Award, winning jazz album. And he is also a CEO and then also a founder of PriceLineBooking.com, Ubit.com, and Animal. So without further ado, let's we say hi to Jeff Hoffman. Good morning, Jeff.
Good evening.
Yeah, good morning.
I was there. I wish I was there in Jakarta, but I'll come when I can.
Yeah, okay. Hello. So Jeff, so we would like to talk about how to scale our business. So, but before we would like to some perspective from you that we noticed that you already successful to grow your business, and then also you have many experience around the world. So the first question, can you give us how the stage that maybe can be encourage us to have a strong motivation and also a positive mindset when we just enter our business, and then what is the stage and what is the good step when we want to scale up our business? Okay, it's the time. It's yours.
Okay, sure. So it's always hard. You talked about having a good mindset. The truth is that entrepreneurship is not a job. It is a mindset. Entrepreneurship is the attitude. It's the attitude of seeing the way things are, then imagining the way they could be, and then deciding to build that. I always tell people that I don't like the word entrepreneurship. I would rather call it self-determination. It's you deciding what life you want to live and what change you want to make in the world. What problem do you want to solve, or what thing do you want to make better? And then it's about owning that, saying, I am not going to stop until I fix this problem. And there are definitely, everybody that's ever succeeded failed along the way. It doesn't always work. If you are never failing, then you are not pushing very hard. You just don't have big goals. If you can make every one of your goals easily, right, then that means that you're just not pushing that hard. I was recently talking to one of the football players who's in the World Cup right now. He does not make every shot he takes. Many times he takes a shot on goal and misses, but he doesn't stop shooting because sometimes you miss. So that mindset of entrepreneurship, of scale up, you know it's always going to be hard at the start. It's lonely sometimes when you start, but that is why it's so, well, first of all, it's important that you continue for two reasons. The people that are most likely to solve the world's biggest problems, the people that are going to create the future of Indonesia are not going to be, it's not big corporates. It's not governments. They're all doing the best they can, but it's entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the people that are going to solve the world's biggest problems because they're fast, they're efficient, they're agile. So you are designing the future of Indonesia, the future of the region, but you're designing your own future. So I always tell people being an entrepreneur was never a job, it was a privilege. I got the opportunity to try to design a future and to try to leave impact. So when the days are tough and you're early on in your startup and it just seems like it's not going to work, you have to consider that if you stop, not only do you fail to create your own future, but there are so many people that didn't know they needed you that won't be helped by you now. So you just have to get up in the morning and say, I can get through this day. I'm going to just tell you a really quick trick that I used to use. I played a lot of sports and I am not a good runner. And when we had to run a long distance, mentally, I would look and I would say, I can't run this far. So, and that's what it feels like at the start of your startup, right? It's small, it's you, it seems too far to get where you're going. So what I would do is I would say, I'm not going to worry about running to the end. I'm just going to run to that tree right there. And then I would run to the tree and I would say, okay, well, I can run to one more tree. And then I would say, all right, well, that next tree is pretty close. And I would just run from tree to tree to tree. And eventually I would look up and say, wow, I ran the entire race. That's what a startup is. You take one step at a time, you accomplish one thing at a time, you run to the next tree, and eventually you will get there.
So thank you, Jeff, for your explanation. So the clue that you mentioned before entrepreneurship is a mindset that about attitude and also how to solve the problem. This is the clue. So what is in your opinion in our now era? I mean, like new normal era and also disruptive era. Can you suggest us? I think in audience here is mostly is the students. So what is the best? I mean, like sometimes maybe like as you mentioned, entrepreneur is a privilege, but how we can make sure ourselves that we can finish this our journey. Sometimes maybe like on the process failed, and then we have to try again, and then it's never ending to be an entrepreneur. So from your experience, would you share the best method when you just want to grow your business, maybe from your team, and then maybe when you just start or scale your business that is sacrifice your personal life? So how can you share to us what is the great method?
Okay, so the key to success for an entrepreneur is your team. It's not you, right? Everybody thinks that it's about them. It was my idea. I am the founder. I am the entrepreneur or the CEO, the leader. But the truth is, the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, the most successful people, were the ones that realized that the key to success is to surround yourself with people smarter than you. So no great thing was ever accomplished by one person anyway. Really, one person had the idea in the start, but it takes a team. And so the reason that's important is that you can't do all the work anyway. You know what the truth is? Each one of us is actually only good at one thing, okay? I have never hired an engineer who also did all my marketing and then paid all my taxes, okay? An engineer is an engineer. A finance person is a finance person. A creative salesperson is a So even though you're the leader, don't pretend that you can do all the jobs. That is stressful, and they won't go very well because you're not good at them. Sometimes you'll fail because it's not your expertise. What you need to do is determine which one thing you are really good at. By the way, I have an engineering degree, and I'm an engineer. And my first company was technical, and we were all doing engineering. And the rest of the engineers one day said, "We need to talk to you, Jeff." I said, "What?" And they said, "We don't want you to ever engineer anything again the rest of your life." And I said, "But I'm an engineer." And they said, "But you're not a good one." And I said, "But I have the same degree from university that you do." And they said, "But somehow we seem to have learned it better." So I was not an engineer, and I would have made not very good products. But what I did was my team said, "Why don't you go figure out what marketing is? Because as soon as the product's done, somebody needs to market it." It turns out that I'm really good at marketing and nothing else. That's my strong part. So what you have to do is find people better than you, smarter than you, in every other area that you need. Spend a lot of time looking for people and going out and talking people into joining your team. Then when you have those difficult days, when it is hard, that difficulty, if there's 6 of you, is divided by 6 now. Your team is growing. And if today it's a money problem, someone on your team really knows finance. If tomorrow it's a product problem, some engineer on your team knows how to fix it. And the next day it's a sales problem, and somebody on the team knows how to sell. So slowly, as you can, especially in university, you should be talking to so many people around you. What I do all the time is every time I meet someone, I say, "So tell me your story." I can remember back to the first time I ever sat down with Ivan. What I wanted to know was, who are you? What are your skills? What are your passions? What are your interests, Ivan? What are you trying to accomplish? And then I make notes. And so as soon as I have that problem, you don't build your network when you need it. You build it every single day. So it's already there when you need it. So when I have a problem, I already know who I'm going to call. Oh, that woman I met in Jakarta, she's really good at this. I should send her a message right away because I need her help. So that's a big part of getting through that period of time, is realizing that you can't do it yourself anyway. So start building your team now.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you, Jeff, for your explanation about how to optimize the limited sources and limited time. So the next is, how do we know that our business model, this is talking about Indonesia, because before you said that you several times visit Indonesia, what is the business model that will match for our local needs? Are there any indicators that could be early signs that our entrepreneurs can move forward and sustain?
Yes, that's a very good question. So I will tell you, I was doing an interview with some CEOs.
Yeah.
And the moderator said, when you have a new idea, what's the first thing you do? And the other CEOs said, I get my team and we go to a whiteboard and we draw our idea. I said, I get up and I walk outside. And they said, why do you go outside? Well, this is the answer to the question you just asked. The only opinion that matters is the person that is going to use your product. Who do you think is going to pay for this service or product? You need to get out of your office and you need to go find them. So what some people were told was build an MVP, right? A minimally viable product. Build something right away and then see if people like it. I don't wait that long. I don't agree. As soon as I have an idea, I want to know if my product will be viable in the local market, I go into the local market. The reason that Ivan mentioned that last time I was in Jakarta, I spent one whole day with students. We spent all of Saturday together. We went to the mall, we went to Starbucks, we walked around the square, but I spent the whole time out and with students because I need to understand how they think, what they want, what they need, what they like, what they don't like. So the answer to your question is you need to spend time you need to spend a day in the life of your customer. Just one last thing. One time our product was for mothers. And I am not a mother. So you know what I did? I left my office and I went to the market where they were buying fruit and vegetables. And I spent days going to the market and talking to mothers, just talking. I'm not selling anything. Saying, how is your day? What is your usual day like? What are your frustrations? Trying to understand how these mothers think, and then asking them, what if I created this product? Would this work for you? Would you pay for it? The only opinion that matters is not yours. It's the customer. So you need to go talk to them before you build anything.
Okay, so I got what is your meaning. So we have to grow our empathy to our customer. So, and we try to understand what they problem, and then we try to deliver what they need. Okay, yes. And then next.
You have to ask them.
Yeah, okay. And then next, Jeff. So, could you give us an example of any startup of any business that attracted your interest in the past year? And then at the time you believe in the future they will success. So maybe can you give us the example, the startup of, and then the case maybe in Indonesia or some of the startup maybe around the world that maybe you can give us the example at the beginning and then now their process and how they can face it or the trouble and then the obstacle. Okay, can you give the example of the startup?
Maybe sure, there are. I'll just pick one. And explain to you why I think they will be successful. So all of you listening understand these are important things. First of all, are you solving a real problem? Sometimes people just create something. Hey, look, I invented this. And then I say, okay, who wants one of those? And you say, I don't know. We'll find out when I try to sell it. That's one way. That's not the good way. The better way is to see a real problem right where you live in Indonesia and say, I think I can create a solution for this problem. So I'll give you an example of a startup that I really liked. The problem was deforestation. What that meant was where they were killing trees to make paper products, the more trees that you chop down, the more trees you kill, the more impact it has negatively on the environment. It creates more desert, less oxygen, all the problems. So the problem was where they live, we need, this was kind of the sub-Saharan area, we need to be able to plant more trees faster and less expensive. It was taking a lot of time to replace trees and plant them. So what they did was they said, our problem is we need to plant more trees because industry is taking too many. Their solution was to go look at technology and see if technology could solve the problem. So the business they're building are armies of drones, a whole bunch of drones that can plant trees without humans. One of the drones flies around and surveys the land. Another drone can go down on the land and put a probe into the soil and see how moist it is. Other drones pick up the seeds, the tree saplings, and they actually plant the trees. Other drones deliver nutrients. So this business is on its way to being able to plant millions of trees with no humans. That is an example of a startup, and it was a couple of engineering students. It wasn't a big corporate, anybody like that. They created it. Some engineering students said, what if we could modify drones to be able to plant trees by themselves? It is a brilliant solution, and it's going to be very successful. There is an example.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for your explanation. And then next, in your perspective, Jeff, what are the intangible assets that create the most value for a business? So the startup or the company can be resilient and then grow in any situation instead of capital, as we know. So what is the intangible asset that you think?
Intangible assets for the company, you said?
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah. So, I think that is soft skills. And I'll explain what I mean by soft skills. When we go to university, all universities do a good job of teaching us hard skills. I'm an engineer. Somebody else has a financing degree. Somebody else studied management, whatever it is. But soft skills are harder to acquire. And soft skills, for example, in fact, I'll give you a quick real example. I had a startup. I only had 4 employees. And one of them came running down the hall and he said, "Jeff, your other 2 employees are arguing and I think they might fight." And he said, "You better come quickly." So I was running down the hall. When I was running down the hall, I said, "Wait a minute, what am I supposed to do when I get there?" And he said, "I don't know. Nobody taught us that at university." So I was thinking, I never took a class called How to Resolve an Argument. I never took a class called Dealing with Difficult People, but I wish I had. So the intangible is your soft skills. It is your people skills. It is your conflict resolution skills. It is even your interviewing skills. I'm an engineer. How do I hire people? I don't know how to do an interview. That's not what I was trained to do. So all of those soft skills are intangible. And the more you develop them, the more likely you will be successful in your business.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And then next, Jeff, you mentioned about the university. So I really curious about what is the important and what is the role of university incubator. What is the impact that may be the success factor? So the students who are willing to be entrepreneurs soon, are they after they graduate, they can have a good ecosystem. What do you think, Jeff?
Okay, so first of all, the reason I'm here is that I believe that the university ecosystem and the university incubator is extremely important. And the reason why is when I went to university, there was no incubator. There was no entrepreneurship. No one talked about it. And in fact, at school, before that, in primary school, they would have career day. And on career day, a doctor would come, and a nurse would come, and a lawyer would come. But there was no such thing as entrepreneur. It was not a career. And so I had no awareness. I did not know that I could create my own job. I did not know that I could create jobs for other people. I thought I just had to go to a company, knock on the door, and get a job. I did not know that I could fix problems instead of waiting for the government or someone else to do it. So I did not know any of these things because I was not exposed to entrepreneurship. And if I did have an idea, which, by the way, it turns out the university I went to in the United States, Yale University, but I could not afford Yale. It was very expensive. And they told me to go home because I didn't pay for school, which is fair. But I didn't go home. I did a startup, and I started my first company because I had an idea. And I was able to pay for my entire university education by myself by running a company. But you know what would have been nice? If there was an incubator, because I had no idea how to build my company, how to start it, or how to run it. I just made mistakes every day and fell down and got up and tried again until I got it right. So the incubator provides awareness. The university provides exposure and introduction to entrepreneurship. And so people with an entrepreneurial mind find out before it's too late. They find out that entrepreneurship is a career. So I think that the university incubator is extremely important to creating more entrepreneurs all over the world, but certainly all over Indonesia. I've worked with a lot of student entrepreneurs in Indonesia that were part of programs like that.
Okay, so thank you. So the extremely important the position of the university incubator. And then next, Jeff, this is about the pitching deck. When you will meet the angel investor, would you share the best method and a hint when delivering a pitch deck to the angel investor? What do you think from your perspective and based on your experience?
Okay, so the pitch deck is really important. And here is the mistake that most people make, entrepreneurs with a pitch deck. They talk about money. I'm pitching you for money. I need this much money. Here's what I will do with the money. What angel investors are thinking is not about money. They are thinking about milestones. If I give you money, what will you achieve with your business? If I give you money today, and that money will last you a year, A year from now, what do you project your business will look like? So my advice for your pitch deck for angel investors is to focus less on money and focus more on milestones. I'll give you the example. So let's say you are pitching me and I am the angel investor and I say, so what do you need today? I don't want you to say $250,000. What I want you to say is, I need to finish the first version of my product and I need to build 4 prototypes. That's a milestone. And then when I say, what do you need to do that? Then I want you to say, well, that costs $250,000. Because otherwise, what the angel investor thinks is, I'm just keep giving you money and you just keep paying yourself and I don't really know what's happening. So that's my most important advice for pitch decks is talk about the milestones. I need to build a prototype. That's what I want you to talk about, not I need you to give me money. The money is just the way to build the prototype. The important step is the milestone that I can build a prototype in 7 months and it'll be up and running. That's what we want to hear.
This is really a clue that maybe not maybe, but it's the useful message from you, Jeff, that milestone and then also the prototype, yeah, or the hint that for angel investor. Okay, so next, Jeff, from your perspective, which country that you believe will become followers that will success to grow their entrepreneur sectors in this era, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
You're asking me which countries I think will be successful?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's okay, Jeff, but you have a rank maybe. So this is that have a good opportunity or possibility. And because now we are in the pandemic disruptive era. So in your perspective, how can you rank the country maybe that have a possibility?
Well, the pandemic sort of made the playing field level again. The pandemic created opportunities for every single country. Yesterday, I did a talk like this with the tiny country of Bhutan, right? But they have entrepreneurs in little Bhutan that called me and said, we want to fix some things. We have some ideas. So the pandemic created opportunity for every single country because none of us knew really how to do online education when everybody got sent home from school. None of us really knew how to do remote working and online collaboration when we could not go to our office. And none of us really knew how to do telemedicine and online healthcare when we couldn't go to the clinic anymore. So all of a sudden, every country had the opportunity to improve its infrastructure. But let me just say why I'm excited about Indonesia. There are many. I have been working, for example, with Ivan for years, back to GEP and other programs. There are always entrepreneurship programs like yours, like what you do at the university in Indonesia. So that's one thing. You have an ecosystem that cares about entrepreneurship in Indonesia, and a lot of organizations and universities, incubators and accelerators that are trying to create more entrepreneurship. I will say this, I know nothing about politics, so I won't talk about that, but I will tell you that I got the opportunity to spend half of a day, an afternoon with the president of your country. And the reason that he reached out to me was he said, I think entrepreneurship is important to my country's future. Can I ask you some questions about it? So when the president of a country asks you to tell them about entrepreneurship so they can see how they could do it better in their country, that's a very positive thing. There are a lot of places where I don't get that phone call at all from somebody at that level. And then last and most important is, and again, it's the reason I have visited your country multiple times and the reason that I'm here now, there are so many very intelligent, very motivated, very hardworking Indonesians, especially all the students that I met, that have a positive attitude and think that they can design the future of Indonesia. And in fact, they are designing it. So I tend to spend my time in the places where the attitude is good. We know that it's difficult. We know what the problems are starting a business in Indonesia. We know all the negatives. But what I'm looking for is places where people say, yes, it's difficult, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'll figure it out. And there are a lot of Indonesian entrepreneurs that don't call me to complain that it's difficult. They call me to dream about what they're going to do and ask me and figure out how that they can get there. That attitude makes Indonesia one of the, a very positive place for entrepreneurship, because people are trying to find a way, not trying to find an excuse.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay, so we have a Q&A session. So your explanation maybe invite everybody to ask to you. So now, if I check through the YouTube channel, there is a question from Jonathan Emmanuel Siregar. How do we present something different in order to attract more customers? Do we need specialization in marketing method?
Yeah, so Jonathan, that's a really good question. I do believe that marketing specialization is more important than people think. It doesn't have to be you. It has to be someone on your team. So don't go learn marketing if you're an engineer that's kind of an introvert and doesn't like talking to people. That's fine. We need you to design the product. But go find somebody that likes marketing. And the reason why is that we've done at the Global Entrepreneurship Network, we've done a huge study. We've spent millions of dollars around the world studying this. And the main reason, when you ask people, what's the main reason that startups fail? Most people think it's funding. I ran out of money. It's not. It's inability to market and sell their product. The world, there's graveyards filled with really good products that never made it to the world because they were really good products, but nobody had the marketing specialization. Nobody knew how to present something new to the people in a way that they would get excited about it and want and buy it. So I think those marketing skills are the reason many companies fail. They just don't know how to market a new idea. And you need to find people that are good at that. And you can take some marketing classes yourself. I'm an engineer, but I asked at the business school where I was in school, I said, may I take a marketing class? And they said, no, because you're not in the business school. And I said, okay, then I won't take a test or get a credit. Can I just sit in the back of the room? And the professor said, if you just want to spend your time sitting in the back of my marketing class and you won't get any credit, then do it. And I did. I went there 3 times a week to just learn as much as I could about marketing. It's important.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And then next question from the audience, Jeff. You have seen various ecosystems in the world and spoke with many entrepreneurs around the world. And if you are asked to give one tip as the most important thing, what they should focus on to be successful in scaling up their business, please, Jeff.
Yeah, so the good news is I already told you. The most important thing for scale is that you can't scale until you, as the founder, can let go. And you can't let go until you can trust and empower other people. And you can't trust and empower other people until you spend a lot of time trying to find really smart people that you trust. In many countries, people say to me, well, it's my company, it's my idea, it's my baby, right? And I say, I actually was listening to a pitch. I think this might have been in the region. It might have been in Malaysia. But anyway, it was a man that was presenting his startup to me, and he had a woman with him that he did not introduce, and she wasn't speaking. And he was trying to explain things to me that they were looking for money, and he wasn't good at it. And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. And I asked my colleagues, and they said, we don't understand either. And I asked the woman sitting next to him, can you explain it? And she did. And she explained it brilliantly. And it happened 2 more times. And I said to him, you know what? You need to stop talking and let her do all the talking. And I said, because if you want to be right, then you keep talking. If you want to be successful, then move out of the way and let her do the presentation. So you have to be able to let other people take pieces of your company and make decisions and stop being afraid that they might do something wrong because they might do something better than your idea. And so that's the most important tip, that you don't become successful until you trust other people with parts of your business. And until this is really hard. The first day someone says, can you explain this to me? And the first day I said, no, I can't. You have to go ask Angela. She handles that here. And the person said, Jeff, it's your company. You own the company. And I said, John, Angela is way smarter than me. And this is the stuff she's an expert on. So I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend to clean somebody's teeth, go to a dentist. I am not the dentist. So Angela is smarter than me. Ask her the question. That's the tip, is you have to be able to trust people. And when people say it's hard to find people to trust, you know what I tell them? Look harder, work harder, find somebody. You can't tell me you can't find people you trust. I know a lot of people like Ivan that I trust very much to be a business partner with if I was in Indonesia. So thank you. That was a good question.
Okay, thank you. Trust people. Okay. Next, Jeff. Most companies or startups in Indonesia share the same challenge, which is the lack of talents. It is extremely difficult to find people with good technical credentials like software engineers. Nevertheless, many young people are still keen to create their own business. What is your advice would you give to these people as they would like hit a thick wall when it comes to technical or digital problems? Please, Jeff.
Yeah, so that is very true. In fact, that is very consistent with what I just said. The scarcest resource in the world is not money, it's talent. And that's the hardest thing to find. You are correct. That is another reason why I answered the earlier question that the university ecosystem is so important, because we need to create more talent. And then we need to keep them in Indonesia. We have access to them. But to answer that question, in the situation where you just can't find the talent in it near you, if you live in Jakarta and you can't find what you need in Jakarta or whatever, there somewhere, you're the fourth largest country in the world in population. You have all the talent you need in Indonesia. But let's just say that you're having difficulty finding the talent you need. Then the opportunity that was created by the pandemic was the whole rest of the world used to be working in their office, right? So you only physically during your day, you saw people that worked in your building. Now, when we all had to go home, we all got online like we are doing now on Zoom. And so really for the first time ever, you have access to talent everywhere. You no longer need to find people that can physically come to your office. If you had an office in Jakarta and you needed employees, you hired people in Jakarta so they could walk into the office every day. Now you don't have to do that. Now that you found out that you could have remote employees that work online, then why don't you have a remote employee in Singapore that it works for your company? Because if you're talking on Zoom anyway, it doesn't matter if they're across the city of Jakarta or if they're sitting at their home in Singapore. So my answer is, you can look for talent online in other parts of the country and other parts of the world now that you couldn't before, using tools like Zoom and using tools like LinkedIn as an example to find those people.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Next, there is a lot of questions, Jeff. How was Steve Jobs' case one time with Macintosh? Steve was then kicked from his own coin after employing his CEO. What's your opinion?
Wait, what was the question again?
So how was Steve Jobs' case one time with Macintosh? Steve was then kicked from his own company after employing his CEO.
Okay. Actually, that's not the case. He had a serious health issue, which he eventually died from. So he left the company because the doctor said that the stress of working was going to kill him. So early on, he was not kicked out of his company. He left for health reasons. Later, a lot of very well-known CEOs get removed from their own companies, and it's because of their failure to continue to innovate. You have to continue to adopt to the market and see what's new. And you can't, just because you're successful now, assume that you will be successful tomorrow. So Steve Jobs' case was health related, but there are many famous CEOs who know well. The most famous one is that Elon Musk got fired as CEO of Tesla. He's still chairman of the board, but they fired him. But they fired him because they thought he was being a distraction to the business. So just because you were successful today doesn't mean they're going to keep you tomorrow. You have to continue to innovate as a leader, or you should not be the leader going forward.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we move to a YouTube channel. So the question is, what soft skill is needed for startup founder? You mentioned before that the important is soft skill. So now, what is the soft skill?
All right. So there are really two of them. One of them, unless someone else is going to do it, is it would have been nice if I took a public speaking class. Because what are you doing as a founder? You're standing up in a room in front of investors and you're public speaking. You're giving a pitch. But I'm an engineer. No one taught me how to give a pitch. I didn't have public speaking skills. And the media comes to talk to you. You're public speaking. When you're standing in a conference room with a customer, you're public speaking. When you're trying to convince an employee, even though you have no money, and you're trying to convince them to come join your team, that's public speaking. So one soft skill is your verbal public speaking skills. If you simply do not feel comfortable doing this, you don't have to take a public speaking class, but get someone on your team that does. Your team, you don't have to have every soft skill, but someone on your team does. The other one is your written soft skills. When I was trying to get a meeting with an investor, when I was trying to talk a mentor into meeting with me, I had to be able to write really well, right? In university, my literature and my English teacher, they were hard on me. And I used to be, frustrated back then, but I'm glad. Hang on one second.
Jeff, you want to drink first? Okay.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I'm really glad now that they were so hard on me in university because I could write well. And when I would write an email to someone I don't know and ask them for a meeting, they would always say, that was a very well-written email. You communicated clearly and succinctly, and I knew what you wanted. And that's why I replied to you. So your written skills. And then the last soft skill is empathy. That's your listening skill. I didn't know how important that was, and to develop empathy. And when I started asking people that were good listeners, how could I become a better listener? And I started practicing it. That helped me connect with my customers and connect with my employees much better when I found out how to be a better listener. That's not as easy as it sounds. That actually takes some soft skill development. Thank you for the question.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Next question is about the sustainable business. Okay, so creating sustainable and scalable business is important, but oftentimes the business is still not investable as investor, may not have any interest to invest. What's your tips for entrepreneurs to create sustainable, scalable, and investable business? Please, Jeff.
To pitch it for investors?
Yes.
Okay, so the answer to that is what most entrepreneurs don't do, which is you need to do more research on investors, okay? What everybody knows is how to segment, that's the word, a customer, right? If I have a product that I told you earlier that I was selling to mothers of children, then I would not go show it to a man like me. Who cares what I think? I'm not a mother of children. And so if you own a business and your product is for mothers, and someone says, you should see if Jeff likes it, you would say, what? That's crazy. It's not for Jeff, it's for mothers. But when you give an investor pitch and you come back and tell me the investor didn't like it, they said no. And I say to you, that investor was never going to like it. He doesn't even care about sustainability. Why did you even show it to him? That is the mistake that entrepreneurs make. So what I am telling you is you need to do a lot more Google research, and you need to look for investors that have invested in other sustainable products like yours. You need to do research, so by the time you're done, you come back and you say, wow, she is going to like this, because I've done so much research on her as an investor that I know my product, my sustainable product, is the kind of product she has already invested in other companies, so she'll like this. That's my answer. Do more homework.
Do more homework. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Next, for the young entrepreneurs, what's your tips, Jeff, for young entrepreneurs to find good mentors to help with their business?
I saw that Ivan put that in the chat. That's a great question, because the answer, there's two parts, the answer for finding yourself a mentor. The first one is be brave, be courageous. I just started emailing the person I wanted to be my mentor. I called his office. He would not take my call. I called again and again, and his assistant said, stop calling our office. I've already given him the message. He doesn't know you. If he's very busy, if he wants to call you, he will call you. So that failed. So then I found his email address on his website. So I started emailing him. He did not answer. His assistant said, stop emailing him. He already got your email. And I did anyway. I sent an email here and there. It took 3 months. And one day she said, look, Roger says, here's a deal. He will meet you for coffee for 20 minutes if you promise to never bother us again. And I said, I'll take the 20 minutes. The 20 minutes lasted 2.5 hours, and he became my mentor. So you just have to be brave and reach out to people and work hard to try to get their attention. You might have to move on to somebody else, but don't assume they're going to say no if you didn't even ask. Let them say no. Don't say no for them. Roger said to me, why did you keep reaching out to me? And I said, because you never said no. You just didn't answer. I said, until I get a no, if you say no, I won't be your mentor, then I'll stop. But don't assume. I said, I didn't assume you were going to say no. I assumed you just didn't give me a chance. The other part of picking a mentor is this. When I first was looking for a mentor, I thought a mentor was somebody that was successful in your industry. I was doing work in the airline industry. So I was looking for a mentor, somebody that knows the airlines. For all the young entrepreneurs out there, that is the wrong advice. I found a person that knew the airlines, and he was a horrible person. He was not nice to people. He was very focused on money. He was very greedy. He was impolite. He was everything I don't want to be. So let me tell you this. The way you should pick a mentor is not because they're in the industry. You should pick a mentor by finding somebody in the world that you want to be like when you grow up, right? I don't care how old you are or young. Find somebody that you look at and say, I want to be like her when I grow up. That is the person you want as a mentor. It is a life decision, not a business decision. I want to live my life like she does, not run an airline or whatever. That's the mistake I made the first time. So Roger, the person that I reached out to the second time, is somebody that I said, I like who he is as a human. He's been successful in business, but he's been successful as a human, and I want to be just like him. That's the person you should find as a mentor. Find someone in the world you want to be like, and then just reach out and be brave.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. So be brave. Yeah, okay. And then the mentor is find your role model. Okay. Next, Jeff. According to you, how important is elevator pitch skills for the leader of the company, Jeff? This is the question from Teguh Imam. Thank you, Teguh.
Which pitch skills?
Pitch skill for the leader of the company.
Okay. So I actually gave you guys that example earlier. This is a false belief. The false belief is that if you are the leader of the company, you have to do all the pitches. Okay? This is not true. If what you should do is the best person on your team at pitching should pitch. So the story I told you a little while ago, this man was pitching because he's the leader, and he was bad at it. And I kept asking the woman, can you explain what he said? And she did. And I said to him, I know you're the leader, but you should never pitch again. You should walk into the room and you should say, hi, I'm the founder. I'm the CEO of this company, but I'm having my associate here do the pitch because she's way better at presenting. And we want this to be a good presentation. As an investor, that's way more impressive to me. That means to me as an investor that you recognize that you don't know everything. You recognize that what your strengths and weaknesses are, and that you recognize that having really talented people around you is what's going to make you win. I want to hear that. So some people think, well, I don't want to tell them I should give the pitch because I'm the founder. So many people never get money because the leader kept giving the pitch and the leader wasn't very good at it. And sitting right next to him was the woman that's really good at pitching and would have got the money, but you didn't let her pitch. So investors are trying to see if you understand the importance of team, if you know what your limits are, if you really just want to win or you just want to be the hero because you give the pitch yourself. If you're not good at pitching, find somebody that is and let them pitch. Even, I will tell you that Travis, who founded Uber, he was not the CEO at the beginning. He had a friend of mine, Ryan, and he said, I'm not real good at the CEO thing. So he brought Ryan in. A lot of people don't know that Ryan Graves was the first CEO at Uber because Travis said, even though it's my idea and I'm the founder, he's better at this than me. That is, you'll see in many, many successful cases that they didn't try to do the things they weren't good at.
Okay. And this is maybe the last question, Jeff. So when trying to be an entrepreneur or starting your own startup, is there such a thing like too big a scope, Jeff? What is for your opinion?
That's a great question. And I'm really glad you asked that because absolutely yes. Too many people take on too big of a scope. I was in Jakarta with a startup with some young Indonesian entrepreneurs, and they were showing me the product that they were just launching in Indonesia, and then they were going to stay in the region, right, and the neighboring countries. But they hadn't even launched it in Indonesia yet, and they were telling me how they were going to bring their product to the U.S. That is too big of a scope. It doesn't even work in Indonesia, and you're talking about the United States. Companies, the concept is called platforming. Platforming means that you launch your company in Jakarta and you show that it works in Jakarta. Then you spread it across Indonesia and you show that it works in Indonesia. Then you go to the countries around you and you show that it works there, right? Platforming is you constantly move to a bigger platform instead of on day one saying, we're going to take over the world and you have 4 employees and it doesn't even work in Jakarta yet. So the same thing goes for product scope. If you have a product, if you look, let me use the example of the company I was part of, Priceline.com, which is Booking. Is it Booking.com where you live?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Booking, right?
Yeah, we have.
Because in some parts of the world, we had Agoda.com as well, but Booking.com is the company. We talked about doing all kinds of things, vacation planning, travel insurance, cruises. But you know what we did? That's all too big of a scope. We said, let's just start with hotel rooms. One product, one service, not a big scope. Let's just make hotel rooms work first. And by the way, the platform, when we launched, it wasn't even all over the US. It was a launch city of Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And then when it worked in Atlanta, then it was the southeastern US. And then it was all of the US. So the company was launched on a platform, limited scope, with only one product, hotels. And it turns out if you do what you do well, today, Booking.com is the world's largest seller of hotel rooms. It sells them in 190 countries, and it only sells one product. You don't need a giant scope to win. The company is $100 billion company, and it only has one product, hotel rooms. So don't get confused thinking you need too broad of a scope. Start narrow and prove that you can do it before you start growing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So fantastic explanation and then insight from Jeff. So maybe it's because due to the limited time and also you have next agenda. So we really appreciate for your spending time with us tonight. So let us we give big a virtual applause to our great and inspiring speaker Jeff Hoffman. Thank you, Jeff, for your time. And then hopefully tonight's conversation will bring us and guide us to be a successful entrepreneur in the future. So for the last, the conclusion, okay, thank you to for all audience and Global Entrepreneurship Network at American and Guinness University. Thank you, Jeff, and
Thank
always
you.
be success. Stay
Thank
healthy.
you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to our speaker and moderator for today's insightful session. Earlier in this event, we announced that Ad America is holding a special activity with giveaways. For further information, you can check on our Instagram if you want to find out how to get the giveaways. Now, you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea with a place like this? Very easy, you can simply check on our website at www.adamerica.org.id, select create a program and go collaborate with us. All the event proposals will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. While you are there, you can subscribe to our newsletter to get our weekly event updates. Well, it's been fun. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye. You can follow us. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AT America, and also we are on YouTube. You can get fun content and so much more. Again, my name is Aninda. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.